What is shaken, Internet? This is Salt's bringing you the How to Tank for Dummies Kilrogg Deadeye LFR guide. Kilrogg Deadeye is the second boss in the Halls of Blood instance of the Hellfire Citadel raid. This guide will cover the trash up to the boss and the boss itself, focusing on tank mechanics but giving a brief overview of the fight as well. For those of you in queue or already in the instance, a quick synopsis. Swap tanks if you get multiple stacks of shred armor, or a lot of hulks appear, with the boss tank swapping onto the hulk and the other tank grabbing the boss. The hulk boss should face them away from the raid and interrupt their rending howl as often as possible. Use cooldowns on death throws later in the fight, use active mitigation skills when Kilrogg uses shred armor, and don't stand in front of him when he throws spears at raiders to avoid more adds from spawning. Now, there are a few trash packs to deal with on your way to Kilrogg. There are three types of adds here: grunts, bloodthirsters, and dark casters. First on the priority list is always the bloodthirster if it's there. These adds aren't actually tanked, but instead walk toward nearby pools. If they reach the pools without being killed, they will become giant hulks. These must be tanked facing away from the raid because they do lots of damage in a cone, and cast Rending Howl, which does a ton of damage to the whole raid. This should be interrupted as much as possible, but hopefully you won't have to deal with the hulks anyway in the trash, because people should be killing the bloodthirsters first and foremost. Now, next up are the dark casters. They just cast some spells at first, but if they don't die fast, they begin casting Dark Fate. This does lots of damage to the target and spreads it out to nearby raiders, so everyone should try to stack on the targeted player if possible. The adds that will always be there and are the primary focus for tanks are the grunts though. These guys only do one thing: Iron Storm, which is a whirlwind attack. It does damage to everybody nearby, so keep them away from everyone when they're spinning. If a Dark Caster is casting Dark Fate while a grunt is doing Iron Storm, don't go stand with people. You're not going to have a good time. Now, the Bloodthirsters are the ones that you'll see again at the boss, so be sure to remember them. Okay, so for Kilrogg himself, this half-blind orc is a single-phase fight that mostly focuses on managing some adds and doing a special DPS mechanic. Tanks have some role in managing adds, but unless things go really bad, you have a very easy fight on your hands. So first, let's talk about the overall fight and strategy before getting into specific moves to watch for. Kilrogg will periodically spawn bloodthirsters throughout the fight, which will move towards the pool/altar thing at the end of the room, and try to become hulks, just like in the trash. Whenever any of these guys spawns, one will start in the pool and immediately become a hulk, while the others have some walking to do. Your DPS will hopefully kill the walkers as soon as possible so that you never have to deal with more than one hulk at a time, but if more spawn, just taunt them over. Assuming all goes well, this is the main mechanic of the fight for you as a tank. When this hulk spawns, the tank on Kilrogg should taunt the hulk, and the other tank should taunt Kilrogg. The off tank can just grab the hulk, but there might be complications we'll discuss in just a moment. Now, there are other adds that will spawn in the fight: the globs. They're not tankable and will just walk towards Kilrogg. When they reach Kilrogg, they blow up and doing some damage to the raid, and in some cases healing Kilrogg. Luckily in LFR, these really aren't that important and don't do nearly as much damage. You can try to move Kilrogg away from the globs to help your DPS with more time to kill the globs, but it's normally just a better idea to not move the boss in LFR. And that's really the overall view of the fight. Swap tanks when hulks appear, and try to keep Kilrogg away from the globs. Now, let's dive into moves a little bit. First, when you're tanking Kilrogg, he has three important moves to watch out for. First is Death Throws, which will deal damage to everyone close. This will get stronger the more Kilrogg uses it, so save your big cooldowns for this move later on in the fight. Second is Shred Armor, which will give you a debuff reducing your armor and making you take extra damage. If you use your active mitigation skills here, you won't get the debuff. Finally is Heartseeker Strike, where Kilrogg will throw a spear at a random raider. This is where all those globs will spawn, whenever his spear hits any raiders. Just don't stand on the arrow when he casts it, so you don't create another glob. Now, Kilrogg has some other moves, but they really don't matter to tank, so I'm just going to move on for now. Now, when you're tanking the hulks, the same moves you saw in the trash will be here. Well, hopefully you didn't see them. Always face the hulk away from other raiders since they'll do cone attacks, and interrupt Rending Howl as often as possible to avoid lots of raid-wide damage. Now, the only difference you'll see in the boss fight here is that you'll get a new bar called Fell Corruption. This is a very simple mechanic. If you get max Fell Corruption, you become mind-controlled and everyone in the raid has to kill you. For a tank, this generally means bad things or even a wipe. So how do you stop it? Well, that's not really up to you. The hulks will slowly fill up your Fell Corruption basically just by tanking them. The good news is that as long as only one hulk spawns for each wave, you'll pretty much never have to worry about Fell Corruption ever. It only becomes a problem if no one is focusing the hulks at all, or if additional hulks appear. Now, if multiple hulks do appear, the best course of action is for the Kilrogg tank to pull the new hulk, while the off tank holds down on the first hulk and focuses it down. There's still a chance that you'll get mind controlled if DPS isn't focusing the hulks at all, but that's kinda out of your hands here. If a third hulk appears, you'll have to really watch your corruption carefully. When you're not tanking any of the hulks, the corruption will fall off very, very slowly. And that's pretty much the fight from the tank's perspective, so let's go ahead and give a recap. First, tank Kilrogg, using big cooldowns on later death throws and active mitigation on shred armor, while sidestepping any spears. When a hulk spawns, swap tanks and pick it up, facing it away from the raid and interrupting Rending Howl. Try to keep Kilrogg away from the globs if possible. Now there is another very important mechanic Kilrogg will use in the fight, Vision of Death. The basic idea here is that Kilrogg will create 3 runes on the ground where DPS and healers should run to be transported to a special zone where they kill stuff and get buffs. After a while they'll come back and do lots more damage. There's not much to say here besides that this is a primary way to kill the boss since he has an absolute ton of health. The DPS should focus on the ads all the time unless they do this vision stuff, which they can do a lot more damage to the boss and then kill him quicker. Now I'm not 100% sure, but I think in LFR this move might just select 3 random DPS players. If that's the case, you'll never have to worry about it anyway. Vision of Death really should never ever affect you as a tank anyway, unless somehow you're standing on one of the runes. If that's the case, just move off of it, you have plenty of time. You do not want to be teleported out. And that's all to Kilrogg. Mostly an ad management fight where tanks will constantly be swapping between Kilrogg and the hulks. With some luck, you won't have multiple hulks to deal with ever, and the fight will be very nice and very simple. Now the biggest difference here in other raid modes is that the globs do exponentially more damage and heal Kilrogg quite a bit more. So it's very important for your raid not to stand in the spear's path to spawn extra globs, and your DPS to focus them down very quickly. I hope you've enjoyed this guide for dummies. If you'd like to see some more Hellfire Citadel guides, click on the annotation in the top left of the video now, or in the description below. Please like, favorite, share, subscribe, all that jazz, and, as always, you keep it salty, Internet.